One of the biggest differences between a healthy 70-year-old and a frail 70-year-old may come down to the health of their mitochondria. Have you ever felt like you had energy and could just do everything you wanted to during the day and get everything done, while other times you just feel like you could not get off the couch and get yourself up and running? Hi, I'm Dr. Cammy, and this is Dr. Cammy Goes Keto, and we're talking today about mitochondria. There is so much to learn about this interesting little organelle that hangs out in the outside the nucleus in the cytoplasm of your cells. And when I was in medical school in 1985, dating myself, what we learned was that the mitochondria was the powerhouse of the cell and that the mitochondria created energy and made ATP for the cell. That was basically all that we learned. Now there's so many different things now that we know about the mitochondria and things like, so you could compare it to a car. Like when I was in medical school, we learned that mitochondria runs the engine of the car. But now we know that there's so much more that it does. It would be like comparing it to a car now it would have the electrical system. It would have the communication system. It would have the security system of the car. It would have the computer. It would have the emergency shutdown system. There's all different things that these mitochondria do. And what we're going to do today is talk about that. And I'm really happy to say that the majority of the things that I'm doing in my life right now, that if you've followed my podcast, you've learned that I've struggled up and down with binge eating disorder and had all kinds of issues with my food. But right now, everything that I'm doing seems to be heading me in the right direction to have healthier mitochondria. So we know today that mitochondria dysfunction is associated with insulin resistance, which I have, type 2 diabetes, which I don't have yet, obesity, which I have, fatty liver disease, which I have, and metabolic syndrome, which I have. So I've spent decades getting myself really sick and really injuring and damaging my mitochondria. The other thing that mitochondria do is that they influence aging, and that the hallmark of aging that the mitochondria have things to do with is decreased muscle mass, frailty, reduced energy, and cognitive decline. So that's another thing that we notice that mitochondria do and affect that. Mitochondria also affect brain function in very significant ways. There is a lot of mitochondria up in the brain, and the brain requires a significant amount of the body's energy. So things like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, depression, bipolar, chronic fatigue syndrome. That's another one that can be related to unhealthy mitochondria. Mitochondria also makes important signaling cells in the body, and also has to do with your immune system and triggers inflammatory pathways in your body too. Mitochondria also regulate apoptosis, which is programmed cell death. So they have a big implication excuse me, in things like cancer, neurodegenerative diseases, and autoimmune diseases too. So mitochondria do so many important things in your body, and we are learning more and more about this, and we've learned a lot since I was doing my training. So what goes on clinically? What can you do clinically to support your mitochondria? Exercise is a really big important one. You want to be doing aerobic support. You want to be doing interval training, and you also want to be doing, as we age, weight resistance training to build your muscle and to increase and keep your muscle mass, which I'm doing. You also want to be on a ketogenic diet and improving your insulin sensitivity, which I'm doing. Calorie restriction and fasting can also help improve the health of your mitochondria. And I am not doing that yet because of my history of binge eating disorder. And when I try to fast, that ends up helping me to binge. So I'm not quite there yet in my food journey, but I could see that coming sometime in the future. Not in the near future, but maybe in the next year or so. Good sleep cannot be overstated. Avoiding smoking, managing your blood sugars, and weight loss and in insulin resistant individuals. So I'm getting good sleep. I'm managing my blood sugars fairly well, and weight loss I'm working on also. I am on Zepbound. I'm starting, I think, to see its effects. It's been over a year that I've been on it. And the last time I weighed in with Mike a few days ago, I had lost 5 pounds of weight in 2 weeks and 10 pounds of body fat when we measured my body fat. So I am keeping and actually increasing my lean muscle mass. So yeah, all of that's going on with me that's really, really good. I wanted to also talk to you guys about simple practical assessments that you can do to see what's going on with the health of your mitochondria. There's no definite tests that you can do to check for your mitochondria health. No single blood test. There's gold standards that you can do that are not really available to most people, which includes muscle biopsies, enzyme activity, O2 consumption testing by looking at your VO2 max, your maximum oxygen consumption that can be measured in a lab. ATP, not with your blood, but with you doing respirometry. I always have trouble with that word. And so there's some clinical clues though that suggest that your mitochondria are in good health. And those include good energy levels. When you have better energy and you're functioning properly, I know that when I'm in ketosis, which I am right now, low ketosis, 0.5, 0.8 on my ketones on my Keto Mojo, I definitely have more energy. And also your ability to exercise and recover. You want to look at how quickly you recover after you do some good cardiovascular exercise. Stable blood sugar is something else that you want to do. And nowadays we have CGMs, continuous glucose monitors, that can be purchased over the counter and put on your arm. It's painless. And for 2 weeks, you can watch what your sugar levels are doing and see how stable your sugar is. That's a very helpful thing to do because when you eat certain foods, it'll spike. And when you eat other foods, it won't spike. And you can learn what's going on in your diet. Good metabolic flexibility. What does that mean? That means that you're able to switch over from burning glucose to burning fat and getting yourself into ketosis. Other clinical clues to suggest that your mitochondria are in good health is good cognitive function. I'm taking clarinet lessons and I'm also getting ready to advance from beginning community band to intermediate community band. So I'm forcing myself to learn my clarinet and to start to learn how to read music. And also if you have a healthy muscle mass. So what are the things that you can do clinically to assess what's going on with your mitochondria? Simple things to do are body composition. That's actually not easy for a lot of people because I see my nutrition and fitness coach, and he measures my muscle and fat every 2 weeks. So looking at your body composition can tell, but also just your abdominal circumference. Looking at your abdominal circumference and watching that drop can also help. Fasting insulin levels. Whenever you go and get blood drawn from your doctor, you'll have to ask them for a fasting insulin level. They normally will not draw that. And what you want to do is try to get your fasting insulin level, ideally below 5, but if you can have it below 10, that's doing really well, getting there. And so mine has gone from 34 to 26 to 16.8 on my last recent test. So I'm really delighted about that because I'm getting closer to 10. So that's my goal. You can look at triglyceride to HDL ratios. And ideally for women, you want that less than 2. For men, less than 1.5. Mine is still very high. I've seen it as high as 9 because I cannot get my HDL up. I have low HDL regardless of what I do. Both my parents had low HDL, and I think it might be hereditary for me. But I think now it's like 4.5 or something for me. So looking at your triglyceride to HDL ratio. You want to exercise. You want to increase your capacity. You want to try to walk with speed if you can. And look at your VO2 max, your oxygen consumption, and look at your recovery and do some aerobic exercise too if you can. My nutrition and fitness coach has me walking a half a mile in under 10 minutes right now. That's the goal. And I've been able to reach that consistently. So that's really good. Blood sugar control is something that you want to work on to keep your mitochondria healthy, and avoiding sugar and ultra processed foods is a big part of it. Eating sugar and ultra processed foods increases O2 free radicals in your body. And so that's something that you want to try to avoid. And I did say getting adequate sleep is really, really important too. Things that you obviously want to avoid because this makes your mitochondria unhealthy are smoking, drugs, alcohol consumption, and environmental factors. environmental toxins. So, yeah, these are some things to talk about. I'm glad that we had I could share this with you about mitochondria. I think it's important for you to pay attention to what's going on with your mitochondrial health and to understand, so hopefully if this is a new word for you, mitochondria, you can learn about it, you can read about it, you can start to be more aware about it and work on getting yourself into better metabolic health. I also am happy to report that I am currently now a certified metabolic health practitioner. I finished my certification. And I am for the summer now not going to probably do a whole lot with it, trying to keep myself in the mode of better metabolic health personally before I stretch out to help others. All right, everybody, take good care. I hope you have enjoyed learning about your mighty mitochondria. See you next time. Bye.